Hi, this is Jim Minitel with Wrox. This Wrox video walkthrough is going to help you create your first Windows 8 application. In addition, you're going to learn a few things about using Visual Studio 2012 to create Windows 8 applications. All of this you'll be doing with our book, Beginning Windows 8 Application Development. If you're going to follow along with this example on your own, you're going to need two things. You'll need Visual Studio 2012 Express Edition for Windows 8 from Microsoft's MSDN site, and you'll need the code from the book at Wrox.com. You can download either the entire code or just the Chapter 4 code. Search for Beginning Windows 8 Application Development to find the book and the code. With Visual Studio running, the first thing you'll do is click File, New Project, or on the Start page, if it's visible, click New Project. You're going to choose a Visual C# project, Windows Store type, and you're going to give it a name, Simple Rectangles. Once you've given it that name, click OK. Visual Studio will create a few files in the background. As soon as it's done doing that, you'll see a new view. With this view open, go up and double-click the main page.xaml in the right-hand corner, which is the Solution Explorer. This will open the Designer view, and you'll also see the XAML down below it. Once the Designer view opens, come over to the lower left-hand corner of the Designer pane and choose Fit All so that we can see all of our application design in the window that we're given. To create the visual display of the Windows 8 application, move to the XAML pane in the lower left-hand corner. Look for the two grid elements. We're going to fill in a grid or a table here. Start typing a left angle bracket grid.rowd. When you type something incorrectly, IntelliSense won't give you the right option to fill it in. When I type rowd, I get row definitions, which is how I'm defining the table. Type rowd, press tab. That fills in the grid definition element, then a right angle bracket completes it. Now we're going to fill in the grid row definitions with some code that you downloaded from Wrox.com. This is actually the finished code for this sample, so before we use it, we're going to delete the tapped rectangle tapped code. I'm just doing that with search and replace. Tapped equal rectangle tap, replace all with a blank, and now we have the starting code. Going to copy everything from grid row definition down to the end after yellow. Copy that. That's all of the rows and columns for the application we're creating. Replace those two grid row definitions that we put in there. That shows you where to put them. Paste them in, and immediately what you see is the design panel is updated with what your application looks like. A 2-column, 2-row grid with different colors in each cell of the grid. We need to add the code to handle what happens when we click on any one of these cells. In the XAML panel, click after the red rectangle element and then go to the Properties pane. The Properties pane has a lightning icon for event handlers. Click that, scroll down toward the bottom and find the one called Tapped and type in rectangle tapped. Press enter, and that opens the main page.xaml.cs window. We're going to go up to the top of that and add a new using statement. After the last using statement, press enter and then start typing using space windows.ui. You see Windows IntelliSense completing this, windows.ui.xaml.shapes. Press tab when you get to shapes and it will auto-complete. You'll see a red semicolon indicating that there's still more to be typed. Type in the semicolon to complete it. Then you're going to scroll back down toward the bottom. There's a couple of open braces that we need to fill in, some code that you've downloaded from Wrox.com. Switch over to your Wrox.com main page. .xaml.cs and type and copy this completed code, everything from the red rectangle down to that angle brace, the brace you're going to paste in. You've got everything pasted in that you need to complete this now. We created this for the red rectangle, but in main page.xaml we're going to copy tapped equal rectangle tapped to each other color. Press Control-C to copy. Don't right-click and copy. That'll select too much. Then scroll down to green, blue, and yellow and paste it in after each of those elements, and you'll be done with this part of the code. Once you've pasted all of this in, we're actually done with the code and we're ready to run the application. Going to go up to the Debug menu to run this. Debug and select Start Without Debugging. This builds the application. If there were any errors, which there aren't going to be this time, if there were any errors, you'd see them down in the output section on the lower left. And once all of that's done running, the application comes up and you're ready to run it. We click each of the colored cells, each of the colored grid elements, and we see what changes from the application handlers that we've added. So that's it. That's all we're going to do on this in this walkthrough. Press Alt F4, that brings you out of the application. Click in Windows back to the desktop and you're back in Visual Studio Express. So that's it. You've created a Windows 8 application using Visual Studio 2012 Express for Windows 8 and a code sample from beginning Windows 8 application development from Wrox. There's a few more things you can do in Chapter 4 of the book to learn a little bit more about Visual Studio and to experiment a little bit more with this application. If you haven't bought the book, we hope you'll buy it from Wrox.com or any retailer where you buy books.